Their call was for peacekeepers, but Deathworlders came locked and loaded. The Chiral Union was a peaceful group of planets. For hundreds of years, they had lived without real war. Their leaders solved problems with calm talks and careful agreements. Every planet had rules and guards, but none of them had ever needed strong armies. Their people believed that words were more powerful than weapons. Violence was a last resort, almost forgotten. On the edge of the Chiral Union, a small space station called Arvin Station orbited a blue-green planet. For months, the station had sent warnings about raiders. Small ships attacked supply lines. Pirates stole food and fuel. The station tried to fight back, but their defenses were weak. The raiders were fast and brutal, and they never stayed long. Finally, the station sent a call for help. Not a call for war, not a call for soldiers. They asked for peacekeepers, gentle hands. Ships that could stop the raiders without fighting. They wanted diplomats and advisors who could solve the problem with words. The call was polite. It said, "We request calm assistance. The raiders strike quickly. We need support to protect civilians. Violence is undesirable. Please send peaceful forces." The Chiral Council sent the message across the stars. They waited. Days passed. Some advanced species ignored it. Some replied with words of sympathy but sent no help. A few sent warnings. Do not trust the raiders. They are dangerous. Words may fail. The Council of the Chiral Union ignored most warnings. They had never fought a war. They did not know how strong the raiders could be. They believed in diplomacy. They believed in peace. Far away, the message reached a system called Sol, home to a blue planet covered in oceans and green lands. Humans lived there. Earth. They had fought wars long ago. They had learned survival in harsh conditions. Their world had been tested by fire, ice, and disaster. Humans knew the meaning of danger. They knew how to fight and how to protect those who could not fight. When the Chiral call reached human space, leaders studied it carefully. They saw the words peacekeepers and gentle assistance. They also saw reports of the raiders' attacks. Stolen supplies, burned stations, frightened civilians. Humans did not laugh or dismiss the call. They understood the Union did not ask for soldiers. They asked for help, but sometimes gentle help was not enough. The human command decided quickly. They would not send diplomats. They would not send soft words. They would send a fleet prepared for battle, not for conquest, not for revenge, but for protection. The decision was made without argument. Plans were drawn, ships were fueled, weapons checked. Humans called them Deathworlders sometimes, but not as a joke. It was a term from their history, meaning those who survived harsh worlds and could endure anything. These humans were ready for war if needed, but they preferred safety and survival over destruction. In a busy space station orbiting Earth, the fleet prepared to leave. Officers checked every system. Pilots ran simulations. Engineers made sure weapons and shields were perfect. The fleet was large, bigger than anything the Chiral Union had ever seen. The human commander, a tall man with calm eyes, walked among the crew. He did not shout. He did not celebrate. He only said, "Remember your mission, protect the innocent, end the threat, nothing more." Nothing less. On Arvin Station, the Chiral waited. They expected quiet, polite ships, maybe a dozen vessels with soft energy shields. They imagined diplomats walking through their halls, speaking carefully, negotiating with the raiders. They did not expect heavy ships, dark with armor, with weapons that could destroy fleets. They did not know humans would arrive ready for battle. Days passed. Then sensors detected movement at the edge of the system. A fleet appeared. Ships dark and angular like predators in space. Engines burned with quiet power. Weapons lined their sides. Even the sound of their engines was terrifying to the Chiral monitors. The Council panicked. They sent a message to the fleet. "Why are you armed like this?" "We asked for peacekeepers, not warships." The human commander responded calmly. His voice was steady in the translator. "Peacekeepers do not always need words. Some threats only respond to strength. We will stop the raiders. Civilians will be safe. That is our mission." The Chiral Council argued. They feared the humans. They had never seen such ships. They had never faced such force. They begged the humans to reduce their weapons, to come gently, but humans did not change. They did not boast. They did not threaten. They only confirmed, "Our mission is protection. We will act when needed." Meanwhile, the raiders had not stopped. Another station closer to the planet reported an attack. Ships screamed across the sky, lasers burning through thin shields. Civilians ran. Alarms sounded. The Chiral could only watch. They had hoped gentle words would work, but the raiders ignored them. Humans acted without hesitation. Their ships moved like living creatures. They blocked the raiders from reaching the station. Smaller human ships circled the colony, shields glowing. Weapons locked on the raiders, ready to fire but not wasting energy. Every movement was precise. Every action had purpose. The Chiral were amazed. They had never seen such coordination. They had never seen beings so calm under pressure. Humans did not panic. Humans did not argue. Humans moved as one unit, protecting the weak, facing the threat head-on. The raiders were surprised. They had expected the Union to fight poorly, to run, to hide. They had not expected humans. They had not expected humans who were not afraid. They had not expected humans who were so prepared. The first encounter ended quickly. Raiders retreated. The station remained safe. Civilians cheered, though they were confused. They had called for gentle words, and instead they got warriors. But they understood quickly the humans had saved them. The Chiral Council called a meeting. They gathered in a tall hall with crystal walls. Everyone was worried. They whispered, "These are not peacekeepers. These are Deathworlders. They are dangerous, and yet they protect us." Humans walked among them calmly. They did not boast. They did not threaten. They only observed, ensuring the civilians were safe. Repairs began, and no hidden raiders remained. One young Chiral officer approached the human commander. His eyes were wide. "Why are you so calm? Why do you not fight for pleasure?" The commander smiled slightly. "We fight to survive. We fight to protect. That is all. There is no joy in violence. But when it is needed, we do not hesitate. We will always finish what must be done to protect the innocent." The officer nodded slowly. He had never heard words like this. He had never seen actions like this. He began to understand that humans were different from any species he had known. They survived worlds that others could not, endured dangers that would destroy others, and yet they chose to protect. The night came to Arvin Station. Stars shone in the sky, but humans did not rest. Their crews repaired ships, checked weapons, and scanned the region. They moved quietly, efficiently. Chiral citizens watched, still unsure if they should fear or trust these strange visitors. By morning, news arrived from another colony. Raiders were returning. They had regrouped. They thought the first attack had failed, but they had not understood the humans' strength. The humans did not hesitate. Their fleet moved again, blocking raiders before they reached the colony. Shields flared. Weapons hummed. Raids were stopped before they began. The Chiral people began to change their minds. They whispered among themselves. Perhaps these warriors were not violent for the sake of war. Perhaps strength could be kind. Perhaps peace was not only words. Perhaps peace could be held by those willing to protect it. As humans continued their patrols, a small child on the station watched them in wonder. Her father asked, "Do you understand them?" The child shook her head. "Not really, but I think they are strong and they are kind." Her father nodded. That was exactly what the Chiral needed to see. Far away, raiders plotted. They believed the humans were only one fleet. They believed they could outsmart or overwhelm them. They did not know that humanity had trained for such threats for centuries. They did not know that these Deathworlders were born to survive impossible odds. The Chiral Union, for the first time, realized the truth. Their call for help had reached beings unlike any they had known. Beings who could bring peace, but only by showing strength. Beings who would protect no matter the cost. Beings who were not diplomats, not speakers, but guardians. And far away, humans prepared for what was next. They did not celebrate. They did not worry. They simply made ready. The raiders would not wait long. Humans would meet them head-on. They always did. The stars were quiet for a moment. Then, far beyond the Chiral system, sensors picked up raider ships moving again. They were fast. They were numerous, but humans did not flinch. They were Deathworlders. And they were ready. The morning after the humans arrived, the Chiral Union began to understand just how different these visitors were. From their observation stations, the Chiral people watched the human fleet moving in precise formations across space. The ships did not drift or wander. They did not waste energy or fire without reason. Every movement seemed intentional, like a dance choreographed over centuries. The Chiral Council gathered in panic and amazement. "These are not peacekeepers," one elder whispered. "They are predators. Look at their ships, the weapons, the armor." Others shook their heads. "But they saved the colony. They blocked the raiders before anyone could die." Council chambers were filled with debates and murmurs. The Union had never seen such force used for protection. Their entire society was built on careful discussion, mediation, and diplomacy. To them, war was chaos. Humans brought calm to chaos. Meanwhile, the human commander walked among the observation decks. His eyes scanned the scanners, noting every movement of the raider ships. His voice over the communicator was calm, almost quiet. Keep civilians behind shields. Use small drones to scout ahead. Avoid unnecessary risk. Our goal is protection, not destruction. Chiral observers could not believe it. These ships, armed to the teeth, were acting with patience and discipline. There was no panic, no reckless firing. They were not there to conquer. They were there to guard. The raiders did not understand the humans. They had attacked stations across the Union for months. They were confident in their speed and cunning. They expected the Union to fight poorly, to scatter at the first sign of battle, and they expected the humans to behave the same way. The first raid of the morning began over Sivora, a small colony planet near the Union's border. Sensors detected 10 raider ships approaching at full speed, armed with energy cannons and missiles. Panic swept the colony. Alarms rang. Citizens ran to shelters. The Chiral Council watched from their viewing chamber. "We must call for negotiation," one elder said. "Perhaps words can still save them." The human commander shook his head gently. "Words will not stop them. Only action will. Prepare our ships. Move to intercept." The humans moved like shadows across the sky. Their ships appeared between the raiders and Sivora in minutes. Smaller craft flanked the raiders, forcing them to slow down. Heavy weapons charged but did not fire immediately. The Chiral watched, frozen in awe. Then the humans acted. Missiles struck the raiders' engines, disabling speed without destroying the ships. Lasers cut through their weapon systems. All the while, human ships shielded the planet below. Civilians watched from shelters as massive dark ships formed a protective wall. Every attack from the raiders was neutralized before it reached the colony. One raider captain cursed under its breath. "These humans are precise, too precise. They fight like hunters." The humans did not celebrate. They did not fire unnecessarily. Every movement had purpose. No civilian building was harmed. No planet structure was damaged. The Chiral Council began to whisper among themselves. "Peacekeepers, this is not what we expected." They are terrifying, yet they save lives. How can such force be so gentle? As the battle ended, raiders retreated into deep space. They had never faced defenders like this. They did not understand the humans' calm, focused approach. Their arrogance was broken, replaced with fear. The Chiral people were amazed. They had expected negotiators, diplomats who would talk politely to the raiders. Instead, they received protectors, humans who would act without hesitation to protect life. A young Chiral pilot, Joran, watched from a shuttle. His hands shook as he looked at the human ships. "I have never seen warriors like this," he whispered to his friend. "They fight like the storms back on old Deathworlds, and yet they are protecting us." His friend nodded. "They are terrifying and kind. How can that be?" The humans did not waste time. While the Chiral marveled, they scanned the surrounding space. They knew the raiders would return, likely in greater numbers. They did not argue about strategy. They did not debate politics. They acted. A human officer, Lieutenant Mara, approached Joran's shuttle. "Prepare your systems. We may need your help soon, but stay calm. Panic will not save anyone." Joran nodded, still trembling. "We are not ready for this. We never trained for this kind of fight." Myra smiled faintly. "No one is ever truly ready, but we do what we must. Follow orders, protect the people. That is enough." The Chiral Council finally understood something important. Humans did not need fear to act. They did not rely on luck. They relied on preparation, teamwork, and a will to survive. And most importantly, they fought to protect others, not for glory or conquest. Hours later, humans began organizing patrols. Smaller raider ships were still in the system, hiding, observing. The humans moved with precision. Scouts detected threats before they became problems. Civilian transport ships were escorted, stations repaired, drones monitored every sector. The Chiral were astonished. They had never seen such efficiency. They had never seen warriors who could be lethal yet careful. They had never imagined that strength could be used with restraint. One Chiral elder, Master Lior, approached the human commander. His eyes were wide. "Your people, you are not like anyone we have known. You bring fear, yet you bring safety. You fight, yet you do not kill without reason. How can one people hold such power?" The commander's face was calm. "We learned from our worlds. Survival is not about strength alone. It is about protection. Strength without purpose is chaos. Power without restraint is destruction. We fight because we must, and we protect because we choose to. Lior nodded slowly. He could feel the truth in the words. The Chiral Union had been naive. They had believed words alone could solve all problems. Now they realized that words could only go so far. Action, when necessary, must follow. By midday, reports came in. Raiders were regrouping at the edge of the system. This time, 20 ships, larger and more heavily armed. The Chiral people panicked again. Alarm sirens filled stations. Citizens hid in shelters. The humans moved again, their fleet organized into a perfect defensive formation. Every ship had a role. Every crew member knew their task. They were calm, focused, ready. Sensors detected raider movement. They were cautious this time, hesitant. They had not expected human efficiency before. They had not expected humans to act with precision rather than panic. The first engagement began. Raiders tried to hit the colony again. Humans intercepted. Weapons fired not to destroy but to disable. Engines were targeted. Weapons systems were disabled. Ships were pushed back without loss of civilian life. From Arvin Station, Joran and other Chiral pilots watched in disbelief. "They are perfect," Joran whispered. "Every shot hits the target. Every move protects the people. How can they do this?" His friend shook his head. "They are not just fighters, they are guardians, and they are unstoppable when focused." Hours passed. The battle ended with raiders retreating once again. They had been forced to withdraw. Their pride was broken, their confidence shaken. And most importantly, they had learned that humans were not negotiable opponents. Humans were guardians, and they would not be ignored. The Chiral Council held an emergency session. They could no longer treat humans as simple visitors. These were not just protectors, they were a new kind of force the Union had never seen. Master Lior spoke. "We called for peacekeepers, we expected diplomats, we received warriors. Warriors who act not for power but for protection. Perhaps we have learned the true meaning of peace today." The council nodded in agreement. For the first time, they understood that peace was not only words. Peace was protection, peace was courage. And peace sometimes required those who could face danger without hesitation. Humans, meanwhile, repaired their ships, scanned the surrounding regions, and monitored for raider activity. They did not boast. They did not celebrate. They had done their job, but they knew it was only the beginning. Raiders were dangerous. They were clever, and they would return. At night, the Chiral citizens looked up at the human ships hovering near their stations. Some whispered prayers, others whispered thanks. Some could not speak at all. They had seen power and protection combined in a way they had never imagined. The humans were quiet, almost invisible as they patrolled the area. They were careful, precise, and ready for the next attack. They were not saviors in the way the Chiral had imagined, but they were stronger than anyone the Union had ever seen. By the end of the day, the Chiral Council understood a truth they could not ignore. Words alone would not stop the raiders. Only action, guided by strength and purpose, could protect the innocent, and the humans had brought that action to their doorstep. The morning after the second raid, the Chiral Union awoke to an uneasy calm. For the first time in their history, their people had witnessed real warriors, beings whose very presence commanded respect. The humans were not loud. They did not parade their strength. Yet every movement, every decision, radiated a quiet certainty that unsettled the Union Council. Arvin Station, still surrounded by human ships, buzzed with activity. Chiral technicians repaired shields, replenished supplies, and attended to civilians. For the first time, they realized that humans were not just fighting machines. They were caretakers. Every action seemed measured to protect, not destroy. Young Chiral officers, including Joran, gathered to observe the humans in action. Joran could not hide his awe. "I thought ships alone could win battles," he whispered to his friend, Tara. "But these humans, it is their minds, their planning, their teamwork. That is the real weapon." Tara nodded. "And they're calm, look at them. Not a single one seems afraid." "Not even when the raiders return. How can anyone be like that?" Joran shook his head. "I do not know, maybe they are made differently." The human commander, Captain Reynolds, walked through the station corridors, speaking quietly to Chiral officers. "Do not panic, do not rush. Observe the raiders, learn their patterns, wait for the right moment to act. Patience is as important as speed. Protection comes first, always." The Chiral officers took notes, but they were still unsure if they could ever match such discipline. In their history, battles were chaotic. They relied on luck, persuasion, or sheer numbers. The humans relied on planning, skill, and coordination. The difference was clear. Later that day, scouts reported movement. A raider fleet had returned, larger than before. 30 ships approached the colony of Vestra, a rich mining planet near the Union's border. Panic spread quickly among the local population. Emergency shelters were activated. Energy shields flickered as civilians fled. The Chiral Council debated. "Should we attempt diplomacy again?" one elder asked. "Perhaps they can be reasoned with." Captain Reynolds appeared on the council screen. His voice was calm but firm. "Diplomacy has failed. Words will not stop them. They attack because they believe they can. Action is the only answer. Prepare the fleet for engagement. Protect the civilians. That is your priority." The council fell silent. They had never been spoken to like this before. Humans did not argue or debate. They gave instructions. And the council realized they had to follow or risk disaster. As the raiders approached, human ships moved into position. The fleet formed a protective crescent around Vestra, shielding the planet below. Scouts moved ahead, monitoring the raider fleet. The Chiral watched in awe as humans organized the colony's defenses. The first engagement began suddenly. Raiders fired energy blasts, hoping to cripple the planet's shields. Human ships intercepted with precision. Weapons were fired not recklessly, but deliberately. Engines were targeted, disabling raider mobility. Shields were raised exactly where needed. Every move was calculated. Joran and Tara could barely follow the action on their displays. "They are controlling everything," Tara whispered. "No one on the planet is even hurt." Joran nodded wide-eyed. "And they do it calmly, no panic, no hesitation. They are not just warriors, they are guardians." The raiders were confused. They had expected chaos, fear, and disorganization. Instead, they faced order, efficiency, and patience. Every attack was neutralized. Every advance was anticipated. Slowly, their confidence began to crumble. A raider captain hissed through the communicator. "These humans, they are not like the Chiral. They fight with purpose. They do not fear, yet they protect. How can this be?" Back on the station, Master Lior, the elder Chiral, approached Captain Reynolds. "Your people, I do not understand them. How can a species survive so many threats, so many worlds, and yet fight with such control?" Captain Reynolds smiled faintly. "We are shaped by our worlds. We survive because we must. We endure because we have no choice. Strength without purpose is meaningless. Power without restraint is dangerous. We fight because we choose to protect, not to destroy. That is all you need to know." The elder studied him. "So you fight to protect life, not for glory or conquest?" "Exactly," Reynolds replied. "A Deathworlder does not seek war, but a Deathworlder does not back down when life is at stake. Survival is responsibility. Strength is duty. That is why we are here." The Chiral Council began to understand something profound. Humans were different. They were not reckless. They were not violent for the sake of power. They fought because they knew what it meant to lose everything. They protected because they understood what it meant to be helpless. The raiders attempted a second strike. They tried to flank the human fleet, hoping to catch them off guard. But humans anticipated every move. Smaller ships cut off the raiders' paths. Shields shifted instantly to protect weaker vessels. Lasers disabled weapons systems without destroying the ships completely. From Arvin Station, Joran could hardly believe his eyes. "They are unstoppable," he whispered, "but they are not cruel. They do not kill unless necessary. They protect." Tara nodded. "This is more than battle skill. This is control of self, control of fear, control of chaos." The raiders tried a desperate tactic. They sent a swarm of small fighter ships to attack civilian zones, hoping the humans would be forced to split their forces. The Chiral watched, tense. The humans did not panic. They divided their fleet with exact precision. Smaller vessels intercepted the raider fighters, hurting them away from civilians. Larger vessels engaged the main fleet, disabling their engines one by one. In minutes, the threat was neutralized. Not a single civilian died. Not a single building was damaged. The Chiral could not believe it. Their own defensive fleets had tried and failed to stop even a few raider ships. Humans had stopped dozens without harm. Captain Reynolds addressed the Chiral Council. "This is not magic. This is training, preparation, and discipline. The raiders are clever, but they cannot match coordination and purpose. Protecting the innocent requires more than courage. It requires planning, skill, and patience. That is why we fight as we do." The council began to change their view of the humans. They realized that the Deathworlders were not just dangerous. They were precise, careful, and controlled. They were capable of great force, but they chose to protect rather than destroy. That evening, the humans organized a protective perimeter around the colony. Scouts patrolled nearby space. Repair crews attended to the station systems. Civilian transport ships moved safely under human supervision. Joran and Tara observed quietly. "We call them Deathworlders," Joran said, "but they are more than that. They are teachers." "We are learning something from them," Tara nodded slowly. "Perhaps we always thought peace came from words, but they show us peace can be held by those willing to act when words fail." The Chiral Council convened for a private meeting. Master Lior spoke to the other elders. "We have underestimated the meaning of protection. These humans, they survive where others would fall. They fight when necessary, but always for life. Perhaps we have called for peacekeepers, but they are more than that. They are guardians. And today they have taught us what that truly means." The Chiral officers returned to their stations with new respect. They studied human tactics, human organization, and human behavior. Every movement, every decision, every calm action was a lesson in survival and guardianship. The raiders, meanwhile, fled to deep space. Their pride was shattered. They had underestimated humans. They had expected fear and chaos, but they faced control and courage. For the first time, they realized that attacking the Union would be far more dangerous than they had imagined. Captain Reynolds addressed his fleet quietly. "This was the first test. There will be more. Stay focused. Protect the innocent. That is all that matters. They will return, and when they do, we will be ready." At night, the Chiral people looked at the human fleet. Some whispered prayers, others whispered thanks. They had seen what humans could do. They had witnessed warriors who fought not for victory, but for protection. They had seen what it meant to be a Deathworlder. The humans patrolled quietly. No cheers, no celebrations. They had completed the mission, but they knew the war was not over. Raiders were clever and dangerous. The humans' presence was a warning. The Union would no longer be defenseless. Joran sat quietly in the observation deck. "I do not know if I will ever see a people like this again," he whispered. "Strong, calm, and yet kind, they are Deathworlders, and they are guardians." Tara leaned on the railing. "We may call them warriors, but they are more than that. They fight to survive, they fight to protect, and they do not waver. Perhaps this is the true meaning of strength." The Chiral Union, for the first time in history, understood the difference between power and responsibility. Words alone could not save them. Only those willing to act, calmly and decisively, could protect life from those who threatened it. And the humans, the Deathworlders, had shown them exactly how it was done. The Chiral Union had begun to trust the humans. They called them guardians, protectors, and Deathworlders, but trust was not enough to stop fear. Raiders were clever, relentless, and now angry. They would not retreat quietly. They were regrouping, gathering strength for a full assault. Reports arrived from the edge of Chiral space. Sensors detected 50 raider ships, larger and better armed than any previous attacks. The raiders moved in formation, coordinating their assault with speed and precision. Panic spread among the colonies. Emergency sirens blared. Civilians hid wherever they could. Many cried, fearing the Union would finally fall. The Chiral Council turned to the humans. "We cannot survive this," one elder said, voice shaking. "Perhaps diplomacy," Captain Reynolds interrupted. Calm and firm, his voice carried across the council chamber. "Diplomacy is over. Action is the only answer. We will defend the colonies. We will protect the people. That is our mission. Focus on survival, not fear." Joran and Tara watched the humans prepare their fleet. Every ship moved with precision. Drones scouted ahead. Shields were reinforced. Weapon systems were checked and recalibrated. The humans did not panic. They did not argue. They simply prepared, ready for what was coming. The raiders arrived faster than expected. Their ships surrounded Vestra, threatening civilian zones and vital infrastructure. Their weapons fired in rapid bursts. Explosions lit the planet's atmosphere. Civilians screamed. Emergency shelters shook. The Chiral fleet trembled. They had never faced such an overwhelming force. Smaller Chiral ships attempted to engage, but their weapons were no match for the raider shields. Losses were immediate. Panic spread among the inexperienced pilots. Then the humans acted. Their fleet formed a massive protective wall around Vestra. Shields glowed across the night sky. Smaller human ships darted between raiders, disabling engines, cutting weapons, and forcing the attackers into predictable patterns. Lasers moved with deadly accuracy, striking only targets that threatened civilians or friendly vessels. Joran could barely follow the action on his display. They are everywhere at once. How is this possible? Tyra whispered, awed. They are not just fighting. They are controlling the battle, every move perfectly timed. The humans did not fire without reason. They did not destroy ships unnecessarily. They disabled, disarmed, and neutralized. Every raider advance was countered before it became a real threat. Every civilian zone remained untouched. One raider captain cursed. These humans, they are not like anyone we have fought. They anticipate everything. They do not fear, they protect. How is this possible? From the chiral observation deck, Master Lior watched in disbelief. We thought we understood strength, he said softly, but these humans, this is something else entirely. They do not fight for glory, they fight for life. The raiders tried another tactic. They sent swarms of smaller attack ships to breach civilian zones, hoping the humans would split their fleet. The plan seemed clever, but humans anticipated it. Lieutenant Mara aboard a human frigate directed smaller vessels with calm precision. Interceptors flanked the swarm. Protect civilian zones, keep formation, shields up, fire only if necessary. The interceptors moved like shadows, weaving between raiders and civilian zones. Lasers disabled engines. Shields blocked attacks. Not a single civilian was harmed. Joran whispered, amazed, they are unstoppable, and still, careful. They could destroy everything, but they do not. The raiders, frustrated and confused, launched a massive strike at the center of the human formation. They believed that overwhelming force could break the humans, but the humans remained calm. Captain Reynolds issued clear, simple orders. Hold the line, protect each other, do not waste energy, every ship has a purpose. The human fleet responded instantly. Shields shifted to cover weak points. Weapons fired with perfect timing. Raiders were forced back, their formation breaking. Engines failed. Weapons systems went offline. They had underestimated humans' control over battle. The chiral fleet began to see the difference between humans and all other species. Humans did not panic. Humans did not fight recklessly. Humans protected life while neutralizing threats. Humans were not just warriors, they were guardians, planners, and teachers all at once. Hours passed. The battle raged. Explosions lit the sky. Lasers cut through the darkness, yet civilians remained safe. The chiral watched in stunned silence. They had never seen anything like this. One young officer whispered to Joran, if this is how humans fight, perhaps words alone were never enough to protect peace. Joran nodded slowly. We called them Deathworlders, but they are more than that. They are the true meaning of guardians. The raiders, now desperate, tried a final tactic. They concentrated fire on the human command ship, hoping to break the formation. Their beams struck shields, but humans responded instantly. Smaller vessels intercepted projectiles. Shields strengthened in real time. Engines adjusted. The command ship remained untouched. Captain Reynolds spoke quietly to his crew. Do not fear, protect each other, protect the people, that is enough. They cannot break us if we hold together. The crew nodded. Their calm inspired others. Every ship, every pilot, every officer acted as one unit. The raiders' final strike failed completely. Their morale shattered. Engines failed, ships broke formation. Some retreated. Others were disabled and captured. The battle ended. Silence returned over Vestra. Civilians emerged from shelters unharmed. The chiral union breathed in relief they had never known before. The council gathered once more. Master Lior addressed his peers. Today we have witnessed the impossible. Humans, the Deathworlders, protected us when we could not protect ourselves. They fought not for glory, not for conquest, but to preserve life. This is the lesson of true strength. Joran and Tyra stood quietly, exhausted but in awe. We will never forget this, Tara said softly. This is how real guardians fight. The humans repaired their ships, scanned the system for remaining threats, and ensured civilians were safe. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They simply completed their mission and prepared for whatever might come next. The chiral realized that humans had changed everything. They had shown that peace was not simply words or treaties. Peace was protection. Peace required those willing to act decisively when others could not. And strength, when used wisely, could preserve life rather than destroy it. Master Lior, watching the humans quietly, said, we called for peacekeepers and we received guardians. Perhaps this is the true meaning of strength. Perhaps this is what our union has always needed. Far away, the raiders regrouped. They had underestimated humans and paid the price. They would need to rethink their strategy or risk total defeat. Captain Reynolds addressed his fleet quietly. Today was only the first major attack. The raiders are clever, they are dangerous, but we have proven that protection is stronger than fear. Remain alert, protect the innocent. That is our mission, nothing more, nothing less. The Chiral Union, for the first time, understood what it meant to have real guardians. They had learned that strength could be gentle. They had learned that action, guided by purpose, could preserve peace. They had learned that Deathworlders were not only warriors, they were protectors, teachers, and living examples of courage. Joran whispered to Tara as they looked out at the stars, "Perhaps we can learn to fight like this one day." "Not for ourselves, but for those who cannot defend themselves," Tara nodded. "We will remember. Humans have shown us a new way, a better way, the way of guardians, not conquerors." The night fell over Vestra, quiet and calm. Human ships patrolled silently, vigilant and ready. The Chiral Union had survived its greatest threat, not through luck, not through diplomacy, but through action guided by wisdom, preparation, and the courage to protect. And in the distance, the stars whispered a warning to all who would dare attack the Union again. Deathworlders were watching.